Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the October 3rd regular meeting of the Rochester Planning Commission. Could I have, Patrick, you going to do it? Call the roll?
Sure, I can do that, Mr. Chairman. Chairman McGee?
Here.
Vice Chairman Hauser?
Here.
Councilman and Secretary Sage?
Here.
Mayor and Commissioner Bixson?
Here.
Commissioner Gasson?
Here.
Commissioner King?
Here.
Commissioner Lord?
Here.
Commissioner Kenjuk?
Here.
And Commissioner Stone?
Here. Wow.
Hey, we have all present, Mr.
I'm
Chairman.
impressed. I'm impressed. A round of applause for the commissioners. Last week at this point, I asked the mayor to lead us in a rendition of the National Anthem. Of course, I misspoke, and we did the Pledge of Allegiance, and I think this week we'll stay with the Pledge of Allegiance, so please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now do we sing?
You can sing. You can
Made
sing.
me a little nervous there.
You did look nervous last week.
I'm still nervous.
Like McGee's gone over the hill.
It's okay.
Yeah. Okay, at this point, we'll open the meeting for public comment. This is for anything that anyone in the audience or anyone waiting online would have to discuss, preferably on items not on the agenda. Patrick, is there anyone waiting to speak electronically?
I do not see anybody waiting.
Okay, thanks, Rose. Thank you very much. And I see no one in the audience, so we'll pass on that and come back to that again later. Next is approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of September 22nd. Commissioners, have you had a chance to review? And if so, is there a motion?
So moved.
The mayor's moved to approve those minutes. Is there support?
Support.
And with that, the roll call, please.
Okay, I'm sorry, who supported that?
Stone.
Oh, okay. Mayor Bixson?
Yes.
Commissioner Stone?
Yes.
Chairman McGee?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Hauser?
Yes.
Secretary Sage?
Yes.
Commissioner Gasson?
Yes.
Commissioner King?
Yes.
Commissioner Lord?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner Kenzu?
Yes.
Oh, hey. Sorry, Rich. Number 5 is public hearings, and we have 3 of them tonight. And the first one, 5A, is the Rochester Corner Bar, 124 West 4th Street. Vidya, are you available?
Yes.
The floor.
Good evening, Chairman.
The floor is yours.
Members
Welcome.
of the, thank you. Good evening. The project Rochester Corner Bar appeared at the Planning Commission at your last meeting, and they were granted site plan approval for proposed facade renovations. At the time, the corner bar was also seeking approval of payment in lieu of 3 parking spaces. Typically, the Planning Commission has to make a recommendation to the City Council to accept payment in lieu of parking, and then the council can grant it. I believe at the time the public hearing notice was published for the corner bar, the public hearing notice didn't specifically list payment in lieu of also as a consideration for the Planning Commission. So it has been placed tonight on your agenda just for the Planning Commission to make a motion, formal motion to accept payment in lieu of 3 parking spaces and recommend it for approval to the City Council.
Okay, site plan's already taken care of.
Yes, the site plan was approved.
So this is, just to clarify,
Yes,
the applicant needs 3 parking spaces. And
Yes.
the ordinance requires that they acquire them from the city in the decks. We make a recommendation on that, and then it's forwarded on to the City Council for final approval. I'm going to open the public hearing at this point. We'll call it 7:05, excuse me, and ask if there is, first if the applicant here,
Yes.
Corner Bar.
Yes.
Why don't you come forward, if you wouldn't mind, please? Good evening.
Hi there.
Good,
How are
good
you?
to see you again. Good to see you again. This is pretty much limited tonight to the parking matter.
Correct.
And you're all okay with what Vidya had to say? Everything is
Absolutely.
okay, and you're ready to go.
Yep. So
Okay.
we have some forms to sign and.
Very good.
I think That's it, pretty much.
Okay, thank you. So I will ask if there's anyone here who would like to speak during the public hearing on this matter. If you would, come forward. And again, Rose, I'd ask, do you have anyone waiting online to speak?
And no one waiting.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, with that, I will close the public hearing at 7:06 and bring the matter back up to the commissioners and ask if we have any motion. Mr. Mayor?
I'll make a motion to approve for the planning commission the payment in lieu of 3 parking spots and send it to the city council.
Very good. Is there support? Support. Supported by Councilman Sage. Any other discussion on that motion? Okay. Patrick, the roll call.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Bixson,
Yes.
Secretary Sage,
Yes.
Chairman McGee,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Hauser,
Yes.
Commissioner Gasson,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Lord,
Yes.
Commissioner Kenzuk,
Yes.
and Commissioner Stone.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Do you have an update for us?
Soon.
Soon.
October 24th, we're shooting for our reopening. So 3 weeks from today, we hope to launch the whole king caboodle, hopefully. So
Very
it's all
good.
coming together.
All the
We're
best.
excited.
All the best to you.
Appreciate that.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Thanks for coming. Okay, the next item is 5B, Dearborn Federal Credit Union, 511 North Main Street, site plan, video.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Rose, if I may please have permission to share my screen. You've already given me the permission. Just give me 1 second, please, while I pull up the site plan on the screen. Okay, can everybody see the screen?
Yes, we have it.
Okay. So at the city's request, we have reviewed a proposal from Mr. Seelan on behalf of Dfcu Financial to operate a credit union within an existing single-story building that is located on the west side of North Main Street. It's just north of the BP gas station at the corner of University and Main. The site is zoned B1, which is General Business District, and it was previously occupied by a martial arts studio. Banks with drive-in facilities are permitted by right. This facility will not have any drive-up or drive-through component, so it is considered as a principal permitted use in the district. The applicant is proposing significant facade renovations in order to bring the building up to character with what is typically required for their bank buildings. They appeared before you for preliminary plan hearing on September 6th, and they were scheduled for a public hearing tonight. With regard to access, the site fronts onto Main Street. It has got a shared access drive with the BP gas station that is to its south. The lane will be striped. Since it's extra wide, the applicant is going to stripe it, enter and exit, so there's no confusion. Both properties are owned by the same entity, and the applicant has submitted a copy of a shared access agreement between the two properties. So access will be provided to the bank parcel in perpetuity through the existing agreement that is already recorded. There is a 10-foot, 8-inch wide sidewalk along the site's frontage, so that's not an issue. Based upon the ordinance requirements for parking, depending upon the size of the building, a total of 22 parking spaces are required. What you see on your site plan is 14 parking spaces, including 1 handicap accessible space. At the time the city did its review of all the parking within the downtown, this site had a martial arts studio, and it was grandfathered in for a total of 27 spaces based on its capacity. With the bank use requiring only 14 and the site being grandfathered for 27 spaces, the site is deemed compliant at this time. The only question I had was the shared parking agreement that they have submitted a copy of that's already been recorded a while ago, refers to exclusive use of 4 parking spaces on the north end of parcel C. Per the agreement, the BP gas station is parcel C. It says that 4 parking spaces on the north end of parcel B is exclusively for the use by this building. I'm not sure where exactly those 4 spaces being referred to are located, so that was just a clarification I needed. It does not impact the site plan. The plan notes that the bank building will be sharing the dumpster with the BP gas station's dumpster, which was constructed just last year as part of their site plan approval, and an agreement has been included for shared usage. With regard to facade usage, this was significantly discussed. I'm going to scroll down. Significantly discussed at the last meeting, and the Planning Commission had some concerns. The original plan proposed a solid standing seam metal awning, not awning, it was actually a standing seam raised metal panel that went all the way along the south facade and the front facade. The Commission had a concern that the design, while keeping true to what Dfcu wanted, did not fit in with the downtown Rochester character. Upon discussion, the applicant revised their plans at this time to propose canvas awnings above the front windows and the windows that are on the side and for the rear door. This is in their colors. In addition to that, they will be painting the side block wall also a darker color. It's going to be clean, primed, and painted. This was the facade elevation that was presented at your September 6th meeting, and it was received well by the Planning Commission. The next issue was lighting. The site does have decorative light poles already along its frontage. The one concern we did have was the applicant in their packet has a fixture that is labeled as LF. LF is intended to be angled upward and outward to light up the underside of this canopy. It's not clearly labeled on the plans. It is my guess that the LF is the fixtures that are on the interior of the building. So these are basically long light fixtures that are in the interior lobby that would be shining outwards towards the underside of the canopy. It is relatively low wattage. However, lighting has been a serious issue of concern for the Planning Commission over the past year plus. The fact that a light is shining outward and it is at the sidewalk level, even if it's low wattage, the light source will be visible from the public sidewalk. We are not very comfortable with the proposed light design. We would rather encourage the applicant to use some exterior gooseneck light fixtures or some other style fixtures that are downward directed and can still highlight the awnings without having fixtures that are going to shine outward and upwards. So Planning Commission feedback is required with regard to the lighting that's being proposed with fixture LF. No new landscaping is proposed at this time. I had previously recommended a couple of planters, but the Commission decided that we needed enough clear sidewalk area for strollers and pedestrians to walk, so it was deemed unnecessary. And finally, signage will be submitted for administrative review prior to installation. The site is at one of the main intersections in the city's downtown, and it has got very good visibility from the main intersection. So having the facade upgraded and having it occupied by a new business is definitely welcome. Most of the issues we had previously identified have been addressed at this time. So our recommendation is that the Planning Commission grant approval for the Dfcu financial facility to be located at 511 Main Street, subject to two conditions: clarification regarding the 4 parking spaces that are available for exclusive use of the bank on the BP site, and provision of an alternate fixture style to highlight the canopy. I would be happy to answer any questions you might have.
So is the applicant here? Would you please come up? And while they're coming up here, any questions from the commissioners for the planner? Any questions? Okay. Good evening. Welcome back.
Good evening. Thank you.
You heard Vidya's 2 concerns. I wonder if you could address those.
Yeah, regarding the lighting, I'm Shirley from Archon
Shirley.
Architects. Regarding the lighting, we don't have a light shining from inside to outside. There is no light shining the awning at all. So it could be just a misunderstanding of the documents from the inside of the building that are just for the lobby portion. But we don't have any lights that's shining out towards the storefront.
Or up to the
Or up.
canopy.
Correct.
Vidya, is that clear?
I would add that as a clarification at this meeting, Chairman McGee, because the packet that is submitted includes a fixture LF, which specifically says installed on the inside and shining outwards, which is where I got my comment from. But if there is going to be no canopy lighting from inside to outside, that is fine. if the applicant is proposing to highlight the canopy, they do need to submit those fixtures for administrative review before they go ahead and install anything.
Would you restate that,
Yes,
please?
we have no intention of having a light fixture accenting the awnings at all.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sounds good.
I don't know if you can address the issue of these 4 phantom parking spaces?
Fred, do you know where those are on your property?
And so I believe there's one that would be,
Fred, could you come up? Thanks.
hi, Fred Toma.
Hi, Fred.
I'm the owner of the property, the adjacent property and 511. And so I think we came to an agreement with Dfcu that we would have 3 parking spots to the west of the property, which would basically be facing the old pharmacy, and 1 additional parking that
On
would,
that backside?
that would be to the backside, right where the alley is, right there. That would, yes, 1 more striped parking right in that, yeah, just along the rest of the 14 parking spots.
Where are the other 3?
Okay.
To the west side of the property. So would-
Can you point
Over
that
here.
out? So that's still on your property?
that is on my property, yeah.
Biddy, I suspect we need those designated if they're going to be part of the site plan.
Yes, the applicant's shared parking agreement clearly states that it is for use exclusively by the bank. So I'm just going to pull up the aerial. So if I could just show it to you on the screen itself. Mr. Toma clarified that 1 space is going to be this one, that's going to be clearly striped.
That is correct.
And the other 3 spaces are going to be over here.
That is correct, yeah. And I believe there was an agreement of some sort with the previous tenant, which would have been the martial arts
Yes.
operator there, that we had given them 3 parking spots there to use.
Okay. Yes, your agreement basically tied these 3 spots and this spot exclusively to this building, not just to the martial arts use. So as long as these 3 spots are available for 511 to also park in, that is fine, because that's what your existing agreement states.
You need to see that on the plan or the
No,
documents?
as long as Mr. Toma is aware and 2 users don't get into any issues because of it, it's fine. I just wanted them to be aware that their agreement clearly states that it is for 511's use. They don't need to do anything else about it.
And both of you agree that those 4 are still going to be for your use?
That is correct.
Okay, as long as we're clear on that. Okay, thank you very much. This is scheduled for a public hearing, and I'm going to call it open at 7:18. And I'm going to ask if there's anyone in this audience who wishes to speak on this subject. And again, Rose, if you have anyone waiting electronically?
No one's waiting.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we'll consider the public hearing held and closed at 7:19. And now we'll bring the matter back up here to the commissioners. Anyone have any other discussion or questions from anyone? Sarah? Oh, Matt, did you have a question?
I have no
Sorry.
questions on the proposed project. I was just going to state, due to a prior relationship with both the architect and the owner, I will abstain my vote.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mayor?
Yes, so I will make a motion to, if there's not any more discussion, to approve the site plan. And I would thank the bank for listening to the planning commission and making some changes. I think those are very good. I appreciate that, and I'm looking forward to having them in the city.
Sarah, would you like to support that?
Yes.
Sarah is the one who had the concerns, and because of her input, we have this beautiful new building coming.
The one.
Any other discussion on this motion? The roll call, please, Patrick.
Mayor Bixson,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Hauser,
Yes.
Councilman Sage,
Yes.
Commissioner Gasson,
Yes.
Commissioner Lord,
Yes.
Commissioner Kenjuk,
Yes.
And Commissioner, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Stone, you are going to abstain, correct?
Yes, sir, abstain.
Thank you.
And I'm a yes.
Sorry, sir.
That's okay. Thank you very much, and good luck to you.
You're welcome, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, the next item is a public hearing scheduled for Section 2102, an ordinance to amend Article 21, accessory buildings of the Building Code of the City of Rochester to establish a maximum building height of 12 feet, from 12 feet to 13 feet, and to prohibit building or using accessory buildings as independent living units. Jeff, are you going to handle that? Who's going to handle that?
I can, or I think Patrick was leading the show on this one.
Go right ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had a ZBA case where an applicant came in requesting 12-foot 10 tall accessory structure. We started reviewing existing accessory structures, and we found an abundance of them that all exceeded 12 feet. And evidently, in the past, there was a, we'll call it an error by previous reviewers that thought 13 foot was the limit. So many of our accessory structures are 13 feet within the city.
None exceed 13, though.
Not exceeding, but somewhere between 12 and 13 typically. And after reviewing this, CBA kind of thought, listen, this isn't just, a practical difficulty. This is probably something we need to remedy on an overall basis at this point. So they sent it to you guys for your expert opinion.
Okay. So it's simply correcting an error that was discovered.
Yeah, it's to change the height from 12 to 13 feet and add some language prohibiting any type of use of the structure for a living or dwelling unit.
Okay. Jeff, anything to add?
No, I don't. I think that's sometimes you make changes to existing conditions. I think Patrick described it well. I think the language in there addressing the using as a living space is appropriate as well. So I would be in favor of the change.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions for either?
I do,
All right.
Mr. Chairman. Maybe just a clarification to part of what was stated. There are accessory buildings that exceed 13 feet right now. They're just grandfathered or prior to even the
Older
current ordinance.
garages,
Yeah, garages.
carriages.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't want anyone that heard that statement to think there are no accessory buildings that exceed that, because there are.
But we
there are-
haven't approved any over 13. Is that correct?
I'm not aware of any. I went through quite a few trying to get a bearing on how far we erred on average, and it seemed to be most, if not all of them, were under 13. But I
Yeah.
think, as Mr. Gasson says, there's a number of them that are 17 and 21, and
Sure.
They're just 100 years old or
Historic,
something.
yeah.
Yeah, they're non-conforming, but they're there because they've been there.
Yeah.
I think. And I wanted to clarify if just the verbiage in I don't know exactly how it's number 7 on the red lettering part. Yeah, I think it could be interpreted a couple ways. It's really intended to say a housekeeping or independent living structure couldn't be used for that, but it describes bathroom or states bathroom. In general, it's not permitting a bathroom within an accessory building. It's prohibiting a bathroom within a accessory building that would be intended for living or habitable.
Because you could have a bathroom in a
You
garage.
could have a bathroom, and I don't want that to be misunderstood, that a bathroom or plumbing element isn't allowed. It's just that in combination with the living use, it's not.
Jeff or Patrick, any thought on that?
I think that's a fair assessment. The idea here is to say we don't want a combination of this equipment that turns this into an alternate living unit.
So we leave it as written, as proposed?
I think largely it's going to be an enforcement issue if we get a complaint that someone's living in one of the units.
I would agree. I think maybe just stating what I did would be enough for the record that someone could say, yeah, I need a potting room in my garage for my garden room
Yeah.
because I need plumbing or a bathroom facility or something.
Got it. Thank you for catching that. Appreciate it. Any other comments or questions? So this is scheduled for a public hearing. We'll open that public hearing at 7:25 and ask if anyone in the audience has any comment on this particular item. And again, Rose, is anyone waiting electronically to speak to us?
No one's waiting. Oh, I see Grant Mead would like to speak.
Yes, hi.
Hi, Grant.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Awesome. Hey, so my name is Grant Mead. I'm the Director of Realtor and Community Affairs for the Greater Metropolitan Association of Realtors. Just wanted to talk for a second about the living. Is this a previous policy of Rochester that ADUs were not allowed to be living quarters? Is this previous or is this something brand new? I haven't seen anything on this previously.
Nick, I don't know if you can answer that.
Yeah, I can. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, Grant, no, we never allowed that to happen. It's just clarifying it now.
Okay, I appreciate it. Yeah, so there hasn't been like issues with this?
No.
Or even requests, it's just something that's outright.
Well, we did have some requests, but we never allowed it because you can only have one domicile on one property. So that would make it a second house. You can only have one home on per property.
Gotcha. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for asking that question. We appreciate it. Any other questions or comments on this issue? Okay, we'll consider the public hearing held, and it's 7:27. Back up to the commissioners here. Any comments or questions?
So moved.
Mayor's moved that this amendment or change to the section of the ordinance be approved.
Support?
And that's supported by Mr. Gasson. Any other discussion? The roll call, please.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So included in the motion is to send the matter to City Council with positive recommendation.
That sounds good. Can we add that to it?
I get to vote on it twice?
You get to vote on it twice.
Sounds good.
Well, we're at it then. Is there any sense that we should add Mr. Gasson's clarification into the motion?
I think that it certainly will be included. We should include it in the minutes for sure. And if City Council, as I was looking at this, I wondered if Planning Commission wanted additional changes to go forward to City Council. I could see almost like a parentheses, after establishment for occupancy, and I could see parentheses, including but not limited to containing independent cooking, bathroom, sleeping facilities. So it would be a clearly describing the occupancy, not just generally plumbing type issues. But we could certainly add that focus, or it could go up with the comment, which would be reflected in the minutes.
David, how about adding that to the motion? The parentheses.
Parentheses sounds like a great idea.
Okay.
Clarifies it completely.
Very good. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Attorney. Can we have the roll call, please?
Okay, Mayor Bixson
Yes.
and Commissioner Gasson,
Yes.
Chairman McGee,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Hauser,
Yes.
Councilman Sage,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Lord,
Yes.
Commissioner Kenjuk,
Yes.
and Commissioner Stone.
Yes.
Thank you very much. The next item is number 6, consideration 6A, to set a public hearing for Crook Cards, 210 Campbell, special exception for outdoor storage. Video.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. The proposal before you is from Mike Pizzola of Design House Architects on behalf of George Crook to seek approval for a warehouse storage used within an existing industrial building. Now, the site is 2.41 acres, is located at the south end of Campbell and Fraser Streets, and is zoned I2 Industrial 2 District. Now, the proposed use is a warehouse. The building is also occupied by an existing kennel or a doggy daycare facility, which you can see shown on the plan over here, this section of it. The proposed warehouse and storage use is permitted as a principal use and also as a special exception use in the I2 district. The ordinance does not clarify when does the warehouse and storage use become a special exception use versus when is the warehouse and storage use a principal permitted use. So at this time, since the distinction is not made and based upon the information the applicant has provided, we interpret it as being a principal permitted use in the district, but subject to the standards of section 2311, which is open storage. Now, this is my second preliminary review of the proposal. The first time I did a preliminary review, I had numerous comments. Some of them were addressed and a revised plan was turned in. I still have numerous comments on the revised plan. It does not seem that the applicant and I can agree on an interpretation for some of the determinations that have been made or assumptions that have been made. So it was recommended that the applicant be brought before you tonight to get the Planning Commission's feedback. I'll go over some of the major concerns that I have in brief. Now, the setbacks are noted incorrectly. Since the frontage is onto Fraser and Campbell streets, this north property line would be designated as the front yard. So the front yard setback needs to be maintained along this side, and that becomes the front yard, not the side yard. The rear yard would be the one that is along the river. The existing building is non-conforming with respect to the side and the rear yard setbacks because it was built a long time ago. This is an existing non-conformity, so it can remain. Now, per the applicant's parking calculations on the plan, they have a surplus of parking spaces. But the way we see it, some of these parking spaces are just not functional the way they are set up. So some of the spaces that are shown on the east side of the building, if you look at this, you cannot navigate in and out of the space. There is a trailer right behind it. So some of the spaces that are noted on the site are non-navigable and they need to be deleted. So we need revised parking calculations. The site plan notes that there are a total, if you look at the note that is on the right-hand side over here, if you total this, if you put a total to all of this, it says there are 12 storage trailers on the site. We see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. I don't know where the other 2 trailers are. They are not shown on the site plan. Initially, the applicant labeled this as existing non-portable trailers, which means the trailers cannot be moved. Well, if they cannot be moved, they become permanent structures, in which case you have to meet the setback requirements, and the trailers don't meet the setback requirements. On the revised plan, the applicant changed it to say that these are portable trailers for parking on the site and are not considered permanent structures, so they are not subject to any setbacks. Well, if the applicant is calling these trailers as vehicles, they cannot just randomly be parked in the middle of every drive aisle. They need to be parked in proper designated trailer parking spaces, which are typically 12 feet by at least 50 or 80 feet long. This is not, it's either portable or it's non-portable. It cannot be both. So if the determination is that these are portable units, no different than any vehicle, they need to be provided with parking spaces just like every other vehicle. Now, if you look at some of these spaces, they're not even maneuverable. If this trailer is parked over here, it really is obvious that it's intended as a permanent structure. There is no way you can maneuver into these 3 spaces and out if you have cars parked over here. The trailers that are parked here are going to remain parked here. Similarly, this particular structure, this trailer that is parked over here, I have no idea how you can get the trailer to that particular spot or get it off that spot, because you would have to hitch it to something, pull it back. There isn't enough room because you have parking over here, and then you'll have to take it down this ramp. So for all means and purposes, these trailers do appear as permanent structures. So if they are intended as vehicles, I would need to see turn radius, turning movements for these trailers in and out of the site and how they navigate in and out of their spot. Now, section 2804 requires a screen wall for all non-residential uses that abut a residential use or a residential district. Now, just north of this site, all of these are zoned RT, which is 2-family residential houses. So the applicant needs to demonstrate compliance along both the east side, which is zoned multiple family residential, and along the north side, which is zoned RT. So they need to provide the screen wall as required by the ordinance. The applicant has noted in their response letter that the trailers that are on this plan actually create a wall effect. Now, they cannot be creating a wall effect because the applicant has called them portable or movable structures. A wall by its innate nature cannot move or should not move. So if these trailers are going to move, they cannot also be a wall. So they need to demonstrate compliance with the screening requirement as required by the ordinance. There is a lighting plan. However, the details noted on the lighting plan are very minute and they're very blurred. I was not able to make out whether the lighting plan complies with the ordinance requirements. Finally, section 2311, it specifically refers to open storage. And it is a very important section, so I'm going to read out the text from the ordinance. It says the open storage of any industrial or commercial equipment, vehicles, and all materials, including wastes, except new vehicles for sales and display, shall be screened from public view from a public street and from adjoining properties by an obscuring wall or fence, not less than 6 feet, not more than 8 feet high. The height of the wall shall be determined by the Planning Commission so as to properly screen all the materials, vehicles, and wastes. Vehicles and equipment over 8 feet high must be properly screened but need not be completely screened above 8 feet. In no instance shall any open storage or equipment, vehicles, and or materials be permitted within a required front yard in any zoning district. This is the front yard. So technically all these trailers are within the required front yard at this time. So I'm not clear at this time. Trailers create an issue whether they are vehicles or whether they are intended as permanent structures. If they're permanent structures, they need to be on foundations and they need to comply with all of the setback requirements. If they're in fact vehicles that can be moved, they need to be in designated parking spaces with a proper circulation diagram, turn radii, and required screening. So the site plan that is before you tonight continues to remain inadequate. We need clarification on exactly what this use is or how it intends to operate before we can make any further recommendations on whether to proceed with the project or not. I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Commissioners, any questions for the planner?
Not at this time.
Vidya, just a couple clarifications.
Yes.
This is, I assume this has been operating for some years. What precipitates this being in front of us tonight?
I
can
would defer to Nick on that one.
Okay,
Yeah,
Nick.
so Mr. Chairman, so I'm just gonna cut right to the chase. George is a great guy. Over the years, he's been piling up stuff. The Darrows, who I believe are in the audience tonight, live next to it. There be 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 trailers. George collects cards. He just takes in whatever he can get and been storing them out there, and we've been going through this for years, trying to tell him you can't do this. He painted them green, as you can see. That didn't matter. The tires are painted green. This is out. There's no way should this be next to residential. The Darrows and the people on the other side don't deserve this. There's an approved site plan. Build another building. He has property in Rochester Hills. Move it there. It doesn't matter. We shouldn't suffer with that. I'm going to call it an atrocity for years now because of not following the rules. This is not vehicles. That is storing a trailer in a parking spot. You can't do that. Those aren't walls. Those are nothing. He's just storing a bunch of trailers with stuff inside in a space that's supposed to be for truck parking or maneuvering. So
Thank you, Nick. Thank you.
We've gone to court and we don't want to play this game anymore. It's like, tell them, no, you can't do this, and I'll let the judge decide what to do. Or if you guys like this, you do it, but you tell the Darrows that. So that's just my opinion.
So, Vidya, would you pull that down a little bit further? I think you have
Sure.
these down the other way. Pull it up a little further.
Oh,
There-
you would like to see the site plan.
Yeah.
Would you like me to pull
There-
up the aerial?
There are two types of items, I guess I'll call them here. The ones along that fence do have wheels. They're old semi-trailers. The ones up in front, where there's
Yeah.
3 side by side, there's actually 3 and then 2 stacked on top. Those were never trailers. Those are storage containers. They've never been vehicles. They needed a haul frame to move them in and out or wherever they had to be. Then down at the bottom by the dog kennel, that one down there is also a storage container. So these are two types of items here. One could be mobile. I suppose you can hook a semi up to the ones along the north property line. The others are strictly storage containers. I don't know if that makes a difference, but it seems like it should. They've never been mobile.
So if there are storage containers just placed over there, they need to comply with open storage because it would classify as vehicles or equipment. And right now, they do not meet the ordinance requirement for them. If the intent is to have them on the site in perpetuity for the storage, then the applicant simply needs to build an addition, which actually has a foundation. Trailers are not a permanent addition to the site.
That's exactly correct. Add on to the building, do a site plan. We love George, we want him to keep being busy, but add on to the building.
Then there are a couple of nonconformities. There's a little non-colored rectangle at the down by the dog kennel in the back. What is that? Yes.
It says this is an existing encroachment. They are only 5 feet 1 inch from this property line. This is an existing nonconformity because there used to be the railroad once upon a time, and the building was built as close to the railroad as possible to help with loading of the industrial stuff. But the railroad was long abandoned, it's gone, but the building has remained close to the property line. So it is non-conforming with respect to this yard space and also this yard space over here.
Okay.
All those are existing non-conformities.
Any other questions? George, can you join us?
Yes.
Come on up. And state your name if you would.
George Crook.
Good evening, how are you?
Doing good, how are you?
Good, good, good. This is not a formal public hearing, it's just a discussion.
Yeah.
Prior to what would become, at some point in the future, a public hearing like you saw earlier tonight. And Nick speaks well of you and sounds like you have quite a going concern there. We want to work with you to figure out how to get it cleaned up. And we rely on Vidya, obviously, and the attorney, Jeff, to identify to us when things are out of whack with the ordinance. So work with us, we'll try to work with you to get this figured out, but this is not possible. This cannot go forward.
I guess I was told by, the design house that this is okay, that we can go ahead and.
You're hearing it from the horse's mouth, not the vendor.
Okay.
So maybe the gentleman from the design house can join you up there and try to explain what we've got here. I mean, I don't want to see you move to Rochester Hills. I just assume you stay there.
I don't want to move either. I mean, this is just, it's.
And it looks like, I was just estimating, there's 12 trailers or containers there.
Correct.
I don't know how big they are, but I guess 400 feet each, 50 by 8, roughly. So you've got 5,000 feet of storage outside your building. And it's haphazard. And some of the trailers look like jack mechanisms under the axles. And, it's just.
Well, they're just containers, they're over the ocean containers and.
Not the ones along the north property line. Those are semi-trailers.
Correct.
The ones out in front are containers. Great use of them, I understand. But they're haphazard here. It's just.
So it's possible to move these and keep them on site?
I think you and your representative and the staff are going to have to work that out. What exactly is permitted and what is not permitted. But stacking them over, the ones in front are over what, 4 parking spaces outside of the office door. I mean, obviously they can never be moved. They were never vehicles.
Well, at one point we were told that, we had too much stuff inside and, we had meetings with the fire marshal and he says, move the stuff outside. And we're like, can we get more containers? And they're like, sure, get more containers. It alleviates the problems inside. We went ahead and did that and then.
And I think you can probably have some containers under certain conditions.
Okay.
But not this. But not this.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Patrick.
I think you had mentioned, the gentleman from Design House, you had said that he had said it was okay. Personally, I would like to hear what the Design House individual says so we can clarify any issues that may be lost in translation here.
Good evening. My name is Joe Latozis with Design House Architecture.
Welcome back. We've seen you several
Thank you.
times.
Yeah, it's nice to be back. So, we've have been working with George, trying to come up with a good solution on how to make this work to meet the criteria of what the city needs and, be hospitable neighbors and try to meet as many of the requirements as we can, still keep George's business intact, try to be the mediator that brings as much of this together as we can. And, we did put together a revised plan, just recently. I brought it with me, but.
Newer than this one?
Newer than this one, but I think
Has
maybe we
Vidya
need
seen
to-
it?
No,
Okay.
no, we just revised it yesterday, so. I think the plan of action might be to, review this with Nick and with Vidya, and try to come up with a workable solution of the location of these shipping containers, and trailers, that complies with that Vidya is, okay with and Nick's okay with, and we can represent that to you.
And they'll have to comply with the ordinance. I mean, we'll be looking to our consultants to make that assurance to us, so this is the time to do it.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, if I may?
Go ahead, Nick.
So, this has been going on a really long time. I would request you set a public hearing. We'll meet with them tomorrow. We're not changing our stance. You can't store trailers anywhere on that site or the other containers. They don't work, build and addition. So we're just delaying the inevitable for, you can vote yes if you all like, but the judge wants us to keep this moving forward. I'm sorry, not the judge, but Jeff, the agreement.
Do you have a mediator? What do you have?
No, Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll take it. So there was a violation issued on this matter because it's in violation of the approved site plan that's on file. So that was done after a long time of Nick and others at the city trying to get voluntary compliance. We went to court and entered into an order that essentially says that either one of two things has to happen. One is they have to seek, which they're attempting to do here, a revised site plan, which would allow them to, whatever their revised site plan would look like if it gets approval, then they would have to comply with that approved site plan. If they don't get a revised site plan approved, then the order says that they will need to restore the property back to what the approved site plan is, which doesn't have all of these containers. So there is what Nick is referring to about moving forward is there is a plan in the order that says that they have to come before this body, which they are doing, but they also need to comply with whatever planning commission requests to have the appropriate site plan brought forward for consideration. I think what you've heard tonight or what you see tonight is there's nothing new. This is just essentially as an as condition. It's not a please approve X, right? So I think what Nick is rightfully saying is, this really is just a snapshot of what it looks like now. There's not a proposal that I see that says, okay, if we put these permanent trailers over in this particular area that meets setbacks, and has the 8-foot or 6-foot screening wall, or there's nothing that I've heard tonight that would move that needle to progress. But I think what Nick is saying, let's if they want to meet and really talk about how to do this, those conversations have already happened, and so. But if Planning Commission wants to set it for a public hearing, that would be a next step in the process. If Planning Commission says we're not quite ready for a public hearing, to give the applicant one last try to present a viable site plan, then that's available as well. So it does, from the legal perspective, there's an order in place. There's not a case open because we've entered this order, but it does have certain triggers. So the request is to not let this matter continue more than maybe one more meeting before it gets set for a public hearing, and thumbs up or thumbs down at that point. So that's my input.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, I would agree with that. And what we could do is, it's Joe said he's got some revised plans. Give us what your final answer is, and then we will make our recommendation, and then the planning commission will decide yay or nay. It's up to you ultimately. We will make our recommendation based on the ordinance.
Well, in the architect, the designer, and the applicant, they know what the ordinances are. We've gone through this many times about what's required for open storage, having setback requirements and retaining wall. I mean, this isn't new information that they're being given. So I think what Nick is saying is that if they have something that meets it, or they're sure there's some flexibility that could be, but as long as it meets the ordinance, though. And so far, what we haven't heard is a plan that would meet the current ordinance.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, I mean, hearing this stuff, I will not support having a public hearing. It's not that complicated. You come with a site plan that is approved by our planner. This is nothing, this shouldn't even been here tonight, in my opinion. And so you come with a site plan that meets our planning approval, you come to the next meeting or whenever you can. Otherwise, you're just wasting our time, in my opinion.
So Jeff, how about one more meeting, maybe the first meeting in December, where they could present, again, under considerations? And if it works, set a site plan then, or a public hearing then.
Did you mean December, or did you mean November?
Well, Nick, how much, can you do it by November, the first meeting in November, first Monday, Planning Commission in November?
Yeah, all they have to do is submit what they want, videos well into this review, and we should be fine.
If it works, you'll set a site, or a public hearing.
Or recommend denial based on the fact they won't cooperate.
What's the deadline for that submittal?
November
So
7th
in the order, actually, I laid all that out in the order as far as 2 weeks before the next meeting is when we would need to get it so that we could send it to video. So
Could you give us a date, please, a deadline date?
October 17th.
let me, if I'm going to put you on mute here a minute, I'm going to look up that order here.
If I'm not mistaken, I just heard Joe say that he already has a site plan ready, which I have not seen. If it's ready, what's the problem in submitting it by the end of the week? I'll review it immediately.
Patrick's figuring out the dates here. November 7th is the
You're
first.
just talking about setting a public hearing, right?
No.
Having the public hearing on November 7th?
No.
So what's their deadline to submit to you in order to make the public hearing? If the
Make a
plan,
meeting.
To make the meeting.
Make
Yes.
a meeting, not a public hearing.
what's your deadline?
To make the meeting, we would just need it a couple weeks ahead, so
For 17th?
So the 24th, if it's on the 7th?
I think the 24th would be fine.
How about that? Submittal by the 24th and return and talk to us again on the meeting of November 7th.
Yep, that's more than acceptable.
I think you heard it pretty clearly, so don't waste your own time and ours if we're not heading in the right direction.
So, just for my own clarity, shipping containers are allowed as outdoor storage.
Could you discuss that with the staff?
Nick?
We discussed that actually at court, if I can jump in, is that if shipping containers are considered outside storage, it needs, what video has reported is it needs to meet the outside storage requirements, which is in enclosed, either in a 6 or 8 foot walled, screened, setback meeting situation. So where they are now, there would be no, I don't think that would comply because there's no fences or screening. It wouldn't meet any of those requirements. But I think that's what we consider.
In the front yard, they can't be in the front yard. NVIDIA's determined the front yard is the north property line, so they can't be there.
Yep.
Now, Nick, video, is this, when we submit, is this gonna be like a yes, no type answer? Can we just all get in a room and just try to figure this out? Is that possible?
No.
Yeah, George, we've met 3 times, and I tell you the same thing every time,
When we've met.
and you just do what you want. I'm sorry, I love you, but we're not making any progress, and I don't like pulling this, but I bet Darrell's I have to look in the face and say,
Have
we're not
your
asking for any
consultant-
special dispensation.
No. You have your architect bring a compliant plan. Simple as that. A compliant plan. It's not basically open to discussion.
We will submit a plan by October 24th.
Very good.
November 17th.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you
very
for
much.
coming.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm the owner.
You have to come up here.
We're the owners of the property to the east of there.
Wait till you're on the mic.
My wife and I own the property that's on Fraser Street.
What's your name?
Dave Pettit. And
Hi, Dave.
His name's Jan Darrow.
What property do you own?
The property that's to the east of the building on Fraser Street.
Is that a rental?
Yeah, we have, it's a duplex, and we live on one side and rent the
Got
other
it.
side out.
Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you guys for doing this, because it's been nothing but bad, police have been called many times. And he's just trying to weasel any way in to make it convenient for him and not spend any money. And now all of a sudden, he comes up to my house and tells me my fence is on his property. And I said, well, if it is, you'll have to take it to court, because the city built the fence and the wall that's there. So, but I'd like to thank you guys for this, because it's shipping containers.
That's all they are.
They're rust up, and there's trailers there, it's just up on wooden blocks, and they've been sitting there for a long time. It's time
How
to
many
move
years
it.
have they been sitting there?
Oh, what do we say, probably 10 years at least?
So 10-ish years, a
Yeah,
long
10-ish
time.
years at least, yeah.
A
All
long
of a sudden,
time.
the trailers were pulled in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
We
well, thank
hear you
very
loud
much,
and clear.
because I know Nick's been going through heck on this too, and
Well, our intention here is to get this resolved.
yes,
And if we can't, the attorney can take it back to court.
okay, all right. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in. We
Yes.
appreciate that. Okay. The next item, number 6B, the Roxy, 401 Walnut, site plan approval for an entertainment and special event venue, special exception for payment in lieu of parking. This is again a consideration, not here for approval, here for discussion and review, and turn it over to Vidya.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. We have reviewed a proposal from Glenn Wilhelm, I apologize if I mispronounced it, to operate an entertainment, cocktail, and special event venue within an existing 6,715 square feet building. You're all familiar with the site. It is the former Village Shoe Inn. I will bring it up on the screen. It is the former Village Shoe Inn located on the north side of West 4th Street between Walnut Boulevard and Pine Streets. It is located in the Central Business District. Per the applicant's narrative, this use will primarily be an entertainment venue with ticket sales that will be predominant, and the tickets will be sold ahead of time, and only prepared food will be served over there or catered in. This is not a restaurant. This is not a place where food will actually be cooked on site. The proposed use would therefore be classified as a theater, which is a principal permitted use in the Central Business District per section 1101 subsection 4. So the applicant did submit a lot of information. I did an initial review and they did correct the plans to address many of my concerns. There are just a few additional minor tweaks that need to be made, and I will just go over those. There is currently an existing access drive off West 4th Street, and then there is an exit onto Pine Street. This does meet the minimum width requirement for one-way circulation, which is 15 feet. Now, this is 24 feet. Typically, 24 feet implies a two-way circulation drive aisle. Since the applicant is intending to streamline traffic on the site in this way and out that way, I would recommend that they put signs up here that says this can get covered up by snow. So I would like them to put signs up here that say no entry, and over here also entry only, or stuff to direct traffic the right way into the site. The applicant has submitted an irrevocable shared access agreement between the two sites. They are in single ownership, so that is a good thing. They have already a recorded agreement for use of this access drive by both parties, as is the case for this access drive too. Based on the site plan's notation, if you look at the standards required for a theater, which is based on seating capacity, this site has a shortage of 65 parking spaces. The applicant has applied for payment in lieu of parking spaces for the Planning Commission to grant them that so that they can go to the City Council and get final approval for it. The site is right opposite the city's best parking garage, so it makes it convenient for visitors to park there and just walk over to this event venue. At this time, they are not proposing any valet parking, which we had typically seen when we reviewed the project for the Chapman House. There's no valet parking being proposed at this time, but the applicant is aware that in the future, should they choose to offer valet parking on the site, there is a specific section in the ordinance that deals with valet parking, and they will need to comply with the requirements of that section, and the applicant is aware of it. There is a dumpster enclosure shown over here with steel reinforced wooden gates. There is currently a dumpster unit that is sitting right in the middle of this parking lot over here. I'm assuming that that unit will be removed and moved into this enclosure. However, the applicant needs to clearly note that the unit that's currently sitting over here is going to be taken out. At this time, they're still working on a photometric plan for the site. The existing fixtures on the building are to be replaced, and manufacturer's cut sheet details with new shielded fixtures need to be submitted. Although the site backs onto Pine on this side, these are not residential use buildings, so the concern from light onto residential uses is not as much to the forefront as it would otherwise have been. The proposed hours of operation of this facility go up to 2 a.m. in the morning. Now, the site is, although this is not zone residential, you do have residential all over here and further down the street. There is a little concern about what kind of noise might be generated by patrons who are exiting the Roxy after a show or an event gets over at maybe 1:30 a.m. at night. And at night, as we all know, in the silence, noise carries much further. And starting of car engines, vehicles leaving the site might also create some noise. The applicant has stated that no activity will take place outside the building. The live entertainment within the building will stop at midnight, and they will have their customers or clients exit the site in a staggered timeline so that you don't have all of the people at the end of a show all heading out to the exits at the exact same time. I leave it up to the applicant to explain that in more detail as to how the logistics of that can be accomplished. Per the applicant, an acoustical study is being done by Stony Creek Services for noise abatement. We actually need to see a copy of the study as part of the package, and that needs to be submitted. A landscape plan has been submitted for the site, and they are planning several deciduous trees along the site's frontages and along the rights of way too. The applicant has agreed that all of the plants that are going to be planted within the right of way areas will have, I shall scroll down to the landscape plan if I can find it. It's further down. And the applicant has acknowledged that the plan that they submit for landscaping will actually have landscaping that is viable in the winter when sidewalks are cleared of snow or they are salted, that these plant species will not die because of excessive salting. The applicant intends to provide sign design in a separate application package. This is fine because typically signs are administratively approved. However, the Roxy is a unique entertainment venue. It's one of its kind in this area, and the signs are designed like a marquee sign of a theater. So our recommendation was that the applicant at least present a concept design of the sign. I'm not talking about the actual lettering or the wordings of the sign, just the design of what it is going to look like to see if it ties in with the architecture of the building and what its impact will be. The proposal is a very unique and adaptive reuse of an existing vacant building. I believe this building has remained vacant for a while now. And the revised plan addressed most of the concerns we had in our previous review letter. However, we recommend that Planning Commission schedule this for a public hearing, and before the applicant comes back before you, we should have a copy of both the acoustical study and also of any sound abatement and how the hours of operation will work, along with the photometric plan for the site. I would be happy to answer any questions you have. I will scroll on to elevations of this building so that you can see what it's going to look like.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, while Vidya does that. So when we first met Glenn and his team, we were very excited to entertain this concept. And we got way ahead of this. So fire chief started. So we know Chuck, the owner, he's a great guy, has a passion for this building. His family owned it forever. He wanted this to be a music venue. He's a musician. We were very excited. Christy and I met with him. We kind of threw this idea at him, and he took it to the next level when he met Glenn. Glenn's, I'm sure he'll talk about what he does out in Romeo and Front Street, the things that this kind of emulates. But Vidya does always a great job of grinding out the details. We went to a way different level on this because of the following. Started with fire chief. You're going to have to sprinkle this whole building. And in fact, not only did they agree, but they paid the money up front to put a new tap on 4th Street when we put a new road in. So they are ready. They paid for that upsizing. They have a 4-inch speed to go into that building, so not an issue. We have to put up the road later. So we knew they were serious about this. And Chief Steve and I spent hours with them about this. The concept, like Vidya said, and Glenn will talk about, is come into town, park somewhere, go to dinner, go to the Roxy, come out. If it's not too late, go get a drink, go get a dessert somewhere. That's fine. We have the deck right across the street. And it's with 300 seats on the inside, you're going to have over 100 cars. Glenn had a decision to make sure he tried to maximize his parking on site or not. He decided not to, but to put landscaping and soften the site because it's very hard surfacing with this rock. So we thought that's great, but there's this little thing called December in Rochester and weekends in Rochester where that deck's full all the time. It's not easy to find parking. We wanted Glenn to know what he's getting into, especially during the holiday season. If he's got to commit to be able to put 300 people in that place, where are they going to park? So he's gone as far as having a discussion with the chief and I about maybe there's some software that he could buy for the east deck. So picture this, you're coming to town, restaurants are more towards the core. Park over there in the east deck, maybe add the cost of a couple dollars or $3 or $4, whatever it is, to their ticket, and then pay the city out of that per ticket. And that would purchase the software. That would do that. Try to drive people away from the west deck because no one in town's going to be able to use that west deck if this is full every night during the week, basically. So we were worried about saturating and using our deck as their private park. So we're very concerned about that. And more importantly, if you can picture that deck when you come out, you hear that When you come out and make a left, you stack 2 cars before you're at 4th Street. And we do not open that gate and let everybody out. So it would be their problem if you can't get out of that deck for an hour. But there's other people on that deck that could get trapped in there every single night, and we're worried about that. So then we talked about if you force everybody to go turn right, to go to Walnut and University, there's no light there. And then the people that come out and make a left or they leave off-site, go to Pine, turn right, you will never make a left off of there. So we wanted them to really think about the impacts of how we unload 100 cars or whatever all the time and not make it dangerous. We're not going to, we can't afford to, like the Palace or something we used to do, put police out there every time a show is done. The DDA loves this, but they're also concerned about overriding on the parking. So pay in lieu is a big number. Obviously, this city council dropping it to $1,000 made this an affordable idea. We love it. And that's exactly what the goal was. We are just logistically want to make sure you all think about all these things. And their traffic engineer, I believe, is going to show you what they expect to have traffic movements. We might have to make some concessions about no rights from 9 to 11 on University, left out of the deck only, I don't know, or right out of the deck only, right on University, go around the block to go. So you should be thinking of those things. Go out there, picture that deck unloading like big bright lights. All of a sudden, line you up, unload. We don't lift the gates. They're gonna have to wait one at a time, fumble for their money, whatever. So they're trying to find a way to make it more viable and push people to the east side, walk over to the Roxy, go to the show, walk back to your car, traffic dissipates, and we think we can handle it. So they've been really willing with their team to work with us on creative ideas on how to make this work. But I want you to know this is more than just a grind them out site plan. This is a big deal for Rochester. Number one thing in Christie's and the DDA's visioning session was a theater or a movie theater. This checks that box. It's not a movie theater. I think Glenn can explain what it is, but I think to have entertainment, dueling pianos, and good stuff like that, and support the restaurants, I think that's great. Some people were worried about, we're going to have a 2-hour wait in every restaurant. Every night there's something going out the Roxy if everybody goes out to eat. Not a bad problem to have. So I just want you to know that your staff dug into this heavy duty, and Glenn and his team have risen to the challenge and got answers for us. And we leave it up to you to ask those kind of questions. Be comfortable with the movements on this site. Certainly the sound. We got through the Chapman House, even though it's not operating. And Glenn was all about knowing that he can't, have sound booming out of here. It's all inside the building. So he's experienced that. So I just want you to know that's the depth that we're looking at the site. We did not take this site. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Any questions for Nick before we get the applicant up here? Okay, who do we have here?
My name is Glenn Wilhelm. Appreciate it.
Hi, Glenn. How are you?
I want to introduce a couple of people in here, and I'd like to give a quick overview, and then Mark is going to be doing a little presentation that's going to show you a little bit more detail of what we're talking about. Mark Donnebeck is the architect and designer on the project. My wife Katie and I are the proposals applicants. John Kelly is in charge of operations for the proposal, or the Roxy. Kelly Allen is our attorney, and James Vitrino is consulting on the project as well.
Where's Dave?
James.
James, oh, hi there. Oh,
So we've had a lot of people working on this project, and we're very excited about it. So let me give you a quick rundown of what we're talking about, and then we'll get right into the presentation. I did want to address a few things that have come up between Nick and Vidya. With timing, there's been some talk, we've had some meetings about that many people leaving at once, leaving a facility at once, and it creating a problem in the parking deck. John and I have gone back in operations as far as we were the opening general managers at the Second City Comedy Theater next to the Fox Theater back in the early 90s, very similar 300-seat theater. We've got a lot of experience running these type of numbers of people through. In our experience, this is not like a movie theater where the movie's over, the lights go up, and everybody gets up and walks out. These type of events that we're talking about doing here are when the show is on, and whether it's a comedy show or a dueling piano show or another type of entertainment, people are really paying attention to the show. When the show's over, we put some background music up, the lights go up a little bit, and the conversations keep going with the couples and the groups that are together. It's not a get up and walk out. There's a percentage of the people that'll get up and walk out, but it's not anywhere near 70 or 80% of them. It's more like 40 to 50% of the people might get up and walk out, but it's not everyone all at once. One of the other things that we were doing, because we realized that this was an issue for Nick and the city of the amount of people all at once, is Chris Backus that was here earlier from the Rochester Corner Bar and from Ernie's on the river that he's doing as well, which is two great projects that we're really excited about. We've integrated our point of sale systems with them, and I'd also like to invite some of the other restaurants, some of the the Cruise and Murs or the Meeting House. And what this gives us the ability to do is people will go online to our website. They'll pick out their table that they want to get to an event. The next screen will ask them, these great restaurants, would you like to make a reservation at one of these great restaurants? On the same site, the same platform, and then they can click on it, sends the reservation automatically to the restaurant. And what we think that's going to accomplish is I think people are gonna park at the first stop that they're gonna go to, whether it be Cruise and Mirror, whether it be Meeting House, wherever, they're gonna go to that spot to park, and then no one wants to get back in the car to drive a block over, then they're gonna walk over to the Roxy for their event. So I think there's gonna be a natural, spreading out of patrons.
Can you use that to steer parking as well?
We've
Same
also had
software?
discussions about that. One of the things that happens is when you go online to purchase your ticket, we send you an email, and it says, here's the date of your show, here's your seat number, here's your dinner reservation. We also have space in there that we can say, here's your parking options, or may we recommend this parking, or those type of things are all available for us to do. One of the things that Nick's been great with us about is, we realize that this is a partnership we're in together. If someone, even if we put on a fantastic show at the Roxy, if people can't get in and can't get out, or there's problems, that relates right on to us. We want it to be a seamless, easy night out where they park once, they go have dinner somewhere, they come to a show, and they can easily get out. That, we're on the same page and on the same team as far as that's the goal of getting that done. And Vidya talked a little bit about valet. We've spent a lot of time with Nick and administration and the chiefs about what potentially could be a problem, but we're really all kind of shooting in the dark of what the issues may or may not be. We might be overstating some, we might be understating others. We're committed to work with the city to, if it feels like valet is a requirement, if we're running into issues, if valet is a requirement, then we'll go down that road. And I've had some discussions with some of the other building owners on Walnut about their parking availability later on in the evening. So, I really understand that it's a whole package. It's not just us. It's the great restaurants, it's the parking, it's in and out, and it's all one package together that we're all trying to accomplish. Timing, Vidya had said that we requested to be open till 2 a.m., which we did. That's not 99% of our formula. The shows start at 8 o'clock. They're generally over at 10 to 10:45. We did put 2 o'clock because we want to be available for New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve would be a later night than normal. We'd like the facility to be able to do a wedding or a special event if we got customers that want to do those events, but it's not going to be our standard. It's not going to be our standard running. Our standard stuff is going to be 8 o'clock shows, 10:30, 10:45, maybe 11 o'clock, and then those would be winding down about there. That was all the notes that I had. So Mark will get right into his presentation, and obviously we'll be here to answer any more questions or any concerns that you might have.
All right, thank you. Good evening. I'll just walk you through, so again, Glenn kind of gave you a little briefing as to what the venue's all about. So it's an entertainment venue, cocktail lounge, special event space. And so the status, we had a planned opening of fall 2022. So
Pretty busy.
Just missed it.
So,
Yeah.
Okay, and so then, how do I advance this? There we go. Okay, so I'm just going to start with a little bit of the historical relevance of the existing building and to the Rochester community. So as you can see here, this timeline kind of shows how long that building has been in existence. So it's been here far longer than Rochester has been a village or even a city. So as you can see, in 1817, this area was settled. Michigan didn't become a state until 1837, but then shortly thereafter, 17 years after, 401 Walnut was the place where this communal gathering venue.
And that existing footing foundation still is there?
Correct, yep. And so like the gable roof and some of the characteristics of that building
we want to carry through and not change. And so as you can see, in 1869, Rochester became a village, and then throughout 1954 and 1967, it was a communal gathering venue for the First Baptist Church. And so it may very well have been the First Baptist Church. Anyway, so as you can see, 1967, Rochester became a city. And then from 68 to 2022, it existed as this merchant retail space. So for over 50 years, it was what is known as the Shoe Inn. And so our goal is to revitalize it back to a gathering venue as it was originally built for. And so as you can see, this is a shot back in 1940. And so you can see the facade there, that's the building. And this is when Walnut Boulevard was actually a boulevard. And you can see the Harris Fountain that is right here at the end of the Rochester Municipal Building. You can see it in the median there, in the boulevard. And so again, it's truly a significant, deep-rooted cornerstone of the community dating back to 1854. So you can see the characteristics. It had a little bit of a facelift there with the vertical, that second phase there, but then went back to this gabled roof that we all are accustomed to seeing there on the corner. So this is the current exterior aesthetics. So again, like I said, from 1968 to 2022, this is what it now currently looks like. And so, again, a little bit of explanation as to who we are, right? So the Oakland Kitchen and Bar, that is on Adams and Silverbell. I don't know if you're familiar with that location, but these are all between the Oakland Kitchen and Bar and Younger's Irish Tavern. Glenn is owner-operator of both of those. And so with that, this is what the Oakland Kitchen and Bar, the ambiance, and what it really is. A top-tier restaurateur, catering to high-end, luxury-minded clientele. And, this is where we've got a great amount of experience in providing world-class service and guest experiences. And then in Romeo, it's experience with providing live entertainment and services, meeting the demand, and more importantly, exceeding our guests' expectations with every show. So if you're familiar with that venue, the lower level is Irish Tavern, and the above space is where shows similar but slightly different than what we would be providing at the Roxy. Well connected and experienced with booking only top-notch talent and acts. And so very, very versed in presenting these entertainment shows to the community. And so our vision is to combine both of those, where we've got the top level guest service and top tier entertainment experience from Youngers in combination of the Oakland. And then just as a reference, I don't know how familiar you are with 20 Front Street, but this is another communal type of location that has an intimate performance experience similar to what we would have. But we're going to be very much different. It's going to be, as you can see in the next few slides, as to what our vision is.
Are you involved in the Front Street ownership operation?
Not at all. No,
Okay.
This is just kind of just showing a reference of communal space, showing some entertainment, and they provide coffee and that type of beverages, slightly different than the alcoholic type that we would be providing. So again, our vision is to fulfill a DDA and community desired need. And so back in the 2021 DDA Downtown Visioning Session, as you can see, the top ideas and how would you rank the following business wants for downtown Rochester? So the number one would be entertainment venue, as you can see there. And again, top ideas, entertainment venue, piano bar, martini bar, theater, performance space, multi-use space, esports venue. So again, this is really kind of hitting that niche that the community, along with the DDA, is really pursuing, and I think this definitely fits that bill. So again, our vision here for the exterior aesthetics. So this is the current aesthetics that I had shown previously, and then this is our rendering of what we're proposing to make it more of a classic chic type of upscale. And as you can see, the greenery that we've included as well to bring it back to that more like it was back in 1940. So again, here's the back exterior, or the view from basically the neighboring west side. And so that's just the facade, and then introduction of all the greenery to shield off, the view of any parking or any, anything that might be visually upsetting to any of the neighboring, even though, like Vidya had said, that it's not residential that is directly across. And then as far as the interior, this is our proposed interior aesthetics. Again, classic chic. And then, again, just showing the atmosphere that we're trying to create that is suited for the Rochester lifestyle. 30s plus is what we're targeting. This isn't a nightclub. This is what we're trying to depict here. It's not a nightclub.
The rock studio next door does not fit in with this, in other words. We're not going to have rock acts from the School of Rock and Roll next door.
It depends on how good they get. Let's hope we do, right?
Once they pass 30.
So again, the vision is to cater to 30s and up, business professionals, and again, like Glenn had mentioned, that it's all going to be pre-ticket sales, and he explained quite a bit about how we want to go ahead and address the parking and the timing and whatnot. But the pre-sale tickets is the key there as well. And so, again, this is the current view of a paved paradise, right? Put up a parking lot.
Yep.
So here is where you can see we've got some, where the greenery will now be reintroduced into the landscape. And then some of the site plan that Vidya had mentioned, you can see the one-ways and the right turn onlys. That's to help direct the traffic flow. Diverting the traffic away from any of the neighboring residential, potentially on the west. And then once again, what that does is that also increases, a great opportunity for the city parking that we see, right? That you're going to actually increase your revenue generation in that parking structure. I understand that there's, some concerns that parking spaces may be an issue, but again, if a full parking lot means revenue to the city. And then in regards to noise management that was talked about, again, our venue is one that is completely enclosed. Sound is contained within the venue, so there's no outdoor, we don't have an open patio. All of the doors and windows will be closed, and all of the ordinances that are stated, we will apply or adhere to 100%. And so, and again, we've got a great amount of experience in that as well, because there was a lot of sound deadening that was put into the venue in Romeo, as well as even some sound deadening that was put in at the Oakland. And that's all that I have. So I'm gonna go ahead and open for
Questions for this gentleman? What kind of acts?
So, I can guess what I think is gonna work, but we want to be, to move to whatever the demand is. We've had some discussions and some walkthroughs with some booking agents that I've worked with in the past. I think comedy would do well, I think doing pianos are gonna do well, and I think there'll be some bands that are do well. The agents that I had do walkthroughs with me on the site, they think blues is a good opportunity here, they see country working here, and they see classic rock are the items that they see. But it's one of those things where you you go with what the people are looking for. There's, I might be right on the money, and I might be off on what the people are. Maybe jazz would work, maybe other things. So you kind of throw it all out there and see what the community is looking for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Questions?
How committed are you to that ivy stain on that wall?
You're not a fan, huh? No?
It's just, it's such a nice building, and I kind of,
Yeah.
it's just me, my personal preference for clean spaces, and
Right.
I don't know, I just.
We went back and forth on it, to be honest with you, and
You like it? Yeah, see, it's clearly subjective, it's a matter of taste,
Right,
yes,
right.
100%.
And one of the things that we went back to is, it's kind of a distinctive thing with that building, and people have expected it for a long time. So, we trimmed it up, recently, but,
It's gonna be hard to paint behind it?
so we actually just squared it up.
Oh, you squared it out,
We
okay.
squared it up, and we're planning on painting behind it, but,
Gotcha.
we're not,
Listen, it's your building, I was just curious, it's
Right,
gonna look nice no matter what. Really feel.
David?
Is the operation plan like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or is it more than that?
So the initial plan is gonna be, it'll be operational every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday for sure. The Tuesday, Wednesday, Sundays, those are the dates where the booking agents call you with what they call a routing date. They might have an act that's booked in Toledo at the casino in Toledo, and then they've got a day where they're missing and they're going to Chicago. They might say, hey, Glenn, we've got a band, we got a down day, it's Wednesday, make us an offer on the day. So those things are kind of things that you play with as you go, but the Thursday, Friday, Saturday would be for sure. The other days would be depending on, and the acts we're talking about are, some of the stuff that you might see at Andiamo's, or be a Rick Springfield, or a Paul Anka, or, those are the older ones you can think of, but there'll be all kinds of different people that, if they have a down day and they're traveling, they would rather just work. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Other questions? Does anyone have any objection? Excuse me, Vidi. Is anyone just burning with concern that they want to get out here? Eric?
No concern on my part, but just for full disclosure,
We saw that.
my firm's involved in the site planning here, so.
But you're not involved in it?
Well, I mean, to some degree, but not a lot. Enough where I feel it's right to mention it.
But you can still give us your input.
Sure, yeah, happy to.
That would be very important. Yeah. David?
I have one other comment, Mr. Chairman. Recently, or not recently, but over some recent years, there's been a lot of pedestrian activity in that general area, which is great. And it does raise some concern about safety for walking around, going from parking lot to businesses in those areas at night. And with the large amount of people, as you mentioned, maybe it's not full 300 dumping onto the street, but some portion of that. That'll add to it, and I'm sure you want your people to be safe. I'm just really concerned about Main Street going west on that, on 4th Street. It gets a little crazy. How do you deal with that? From Main Street, vehicle traffic going west on 4th Street is a little dangerous for the driver because pedestrians just think, hey, I'm going to cross the street. And it just gets a little concerning, I think, and I'm sure you're going to want to make sure your
Yeah, absolutely. We want our
consumers
people
are
to be safe for sure.
and-
I haven't noticed anything that I felt was unsafe. You know, I see a lot of the leader dog stuff walking constantly around in that area, but I haven't seen anything that I would consider unsafe. But if those issues ever came up, we're an organization that that takes those things seriously, and safety and our customers' safety. So if that looked like it was an issue, I'm sure we would come up with something with the city to make sure that it's safe for everybody.
The problem I'm talking about is primarily at night, is the people are out for entertainment, and they're kind of going back and forth to their car to a venue or something. And they're not thinking about, hey, there's a car coming, there's darting out between cars. There was some conversation in a recent applicant where the city would work with the business owner maybe to strategically place planters on sidewalks, maybe so to guard against someone easily getting in between cars and into the street.
Sure.
That may not be the right solution, but bringing it up because it is an issue, and I'm sure as a business operator, you want to make sure your people are safe and things around your building don't cause issues.
If those things did look like an issue, we would have no issues at all with working with the city to come up with a plan that makes it safe for everybody. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Sarah?
Just going over the site plan, it looks like, is the School of Rock, is this all one parcel?
So Chuck owns both the buildings. It's two separate parcels, but Chuck owns both of those buildings. So it's a shared, the exit onto Pine Street is a shared exit.
Okay, I just noticed the modification of the parking, the sidewalk would extend behind that portion as well. So I just wasn't sure if you're working with them or it's the same. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
Yeah, first I commend you guys for adding some greenery back to the building, but I do have a couple concerns regarding the selections of the plants. One is that knockout roses are a thorny bush, and those are going to be placed on a sidewalk, so maybe not the best place to put it. And then the other thing you may want to do is take a second look at the lindens that were proposed. Those are a very, very messy tree. And not only that, for the space that they're being planted, not now, but 20 years from now, they'll be huge. You know, they could grow 40 to 50 feet tall with a 35-foot spread.
Sure. Okay. So we'd be happy to make any changes that the city would like us to see. We're not
Or ask your people to consider those comments, if you would.
There he is. He's up there with you.
So noted, eh? Yeah. Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, I had one question.
Go ahead.
On the site plan that was shown on the screen when the gentleman was presenting, I did see it labeled Valley next to the School of Rock building. Was that just maybe a future plan, or one of the slides showed that area labeled as Valley? So I just want to make sure.
You know, we've been working on this project for a long time. I think that valet portion was something that was a throwback from when we were considering it a long time ago. But you're right, Vinny, it wasn't in the plan that we presented, and it's not in the site plan currently.
Okay, sounds good. So please do delete it when you're sending in your revised version.
Sure.
Given what I see at Somerset or downtown or whatever, I think you should just put the valet in and get it behind you, because the demand's going to be there. If you're going 30 up and it's Michigan winters, just get it behind you. It's going to come anyway.
Okay.
I don't know what the rest of you think. It's very popular, and then we can just do it now and get it resolved.
If, when we talked to the police chief about it, he was very open to taking the 2 spots right in front of the building and for us to do a valet. So if that's something that the commission thinks is gonna be important for us to go forward, then we can put it right in the agreement and go forward.
Nick, I think it's very important.
I don't disagree. It's kind of like the Chapman House. We dedicated 2 spaces in front, so they have that option. I agree.
Okay. A lot of us have a lot of experiences, and I have some key experience with a couple of these things, and I'm going to encourage you to get the plan down now. You know from your experience that even with the best of plans with traffic and pedestrians, when you open the theater, it ain't going to work. It just happens that way, and you're going to have to modify. So the more people you can talk to early on, the more ideas you can get, it's just going to save all of us a lot of grief. So spend the time, ask the questions, and, let's do it right.
Gotcha.
Mr. Chairman, if I may make one more comment. Talking to Chief Steve, he has a theory that, water finds its level in the glass. Once we're open, we can make adjustments to how we handle traffic coming in and out of the deck, lefts, rights. We could be easily flexible to see how it plays out, like you said. And Glenn's been very willing to work with us on that. So we can, again, we'll be flexible and figure out what we need to figure out.
So I'm going to tell you my experience so you'll understand where I'm coming from. I was the police chief at the Palace in Auburn Hills when it opened. And then I was the city manager there. So I have a lot of experience working 100-hour weeks, standing in the middle of the median on M24, trying to get the traffic off that site. And then later on, after I got out of the public sector, I worked for the Detroit Symphony Orchestra, and I managed the construction of Orchestra Place and the parking deck in the back. And it was an absolute nightmare. Because, the pedestrian, and you have the same thing here, the pedestrians are going to come out your east entrance, and the parking deck entrance exits right across the street. And they don't pay any attention, and they mix. And every hesitation by a car goes all the way up to the top of the deck. So those are the kinds of things I'm talking about, that we just have to talk through now. And try to anticipate.
I appreciate you comparing the Roxy to the Palace. I mean,
Yeah.
if that happens.
Just I hope it doesn't have the same fate.
Right.
So I think this body, along with the other public officials here, are pretty excited about this. And, we want to see it happen, and we want to work with you. We look to Vidya and Jeff Crack for our legal guidance. It's got to be done by the book. That's just the way things operate here.
Well, I think we're there, guys, and I would really appreciate, if we could set a public hearing, because, as Vita said, there's a couple small things here and there, but it's just tweaks. We've been working on this project for a long time, and, every month that goes on puts it a month down
Nick, have you heard anything from the neighborhood around there or anyone in the DDA area that brought up any significant concerns?
No, other than they're excited and hope we can make it work.
Okay, all positive.
Yeah, we are in support of setting a public hearing.
Anyone object to that?
No objection, just one quick question. Presuming it goes through the natural progression and public hearing and it's approved, what's your timeline for commencement of work and opening to public?
So Nick had graciously agreed that he would look at letting us do the parking lot, doing the milling of the parking lot and things like that, because that's got to be done before November. So if everything looks good and we can get through the building department, okay, we're probably looking April, March, April.
Very good.
Thank you.
Would you like to make a motion to set a public hearing?
I would like to make a motion to set a public hearing.
And Nick, give us a date.
November 7th.
Did you say November 7th?
Yes, sir.
Okay, is there support for that?
Support.
Supported by Mr. Sage. The roll call, please.
Okay, Vice Chairman Hauser
Yes.
and Councilman Sage,
Yes.
Chairman McGee,
Yes.
Mayor Bixson,
Yes.
Commissioner Gasson,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Lord,
I'll abstain on this one.
Commissioner Kenshuk,
Yes.
and Commissioner Stone.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Good luck, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, our next item, again under consideration, 6C, St. John's Lutheran School, 1011 West University Road, addition to the school and the church. Video.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Video, we did get a memo tonight from you that was not in our packet, just so you know we have that. Dated September 23rd.
Yes, I'm glad you have that, so I will go over the details. You're not missing anything, you just have an older version of my review letter, so
thank you.
The applicant had addressed most of the comments in that letter. So just going over it in brief, the proposal is from St. John's Lutheran Church to build a two-story, 31,174 square foot classroom addition to the existing church and school building. I will pull up the site plan before you so that the board can actually see. Okay, just 1 second, please. I went to the wrong page. 108. Okay, sharing my screen. Okay, so the applicant is building the proposed addition. The commission has seen this project before you numerous times. This site is actually on the southwest corner of West University and Helen and is zoned RM1, which is multiple family residential. Churches and houses of worship are permitted as a special exception, which this church already has. Elementary, intermediate, and senior high schools are permitted as a special exception in the RM1 district too. The applicant previously got special exception for the improvements that they had proposed. Now they need special exception again for this proposed addition because it's of a significant site. As a quick background, the applicant has been before you multiple times since March of 2018. Initially, there were extensive renovations to the existing church building, and a 29,000 addition was proposed to the church to accommodate the expanding school. And then in June of 2019, because the applicant was not able to get the project moving as fast as they needed to, and they had student enrollment, they asked permission to put in a portable classroom to accommodate their students. They still stated their intent to complete phase 1, which was the renovations and the other improvements on the site, and phase 2, which was the gymnasium and additional worship area portion of it as phase 2. Then in September 2019, the applicant submitted for an amended site plan, which completely eliminated the additional gymnasium worship area, and they just stuck to renovations to the existing building itself. And in January 2020, you granted approval to the amended site plan. Then in mid-2020, you granted a 1-year extension on the portable classroom because we were in the middle of the pandemic and the applicant really couldn't get the project moving at that point. In May, June of 2021, you approved a second portable classroom on the site, and that classroom also stands on the site. And at this time, the applicant is back with the proposal to build this 31,000 plus square foot addition in order to accommodate their students' needs. Most of the site improvements are already in place and were extensively discussed when St. John's Lutheran first applied for this project, and that included the circulation route, the drop-off and pickup of students on the south side of the building, the exit onto Helen Avenue, peak hour traffic, and the fact that the 2 existing drives over here would be for buses, and parents exiting the site, it would be right turn only so that you don't have a backup going all the way up to university. The plan also involved the closure of the Alice Street access so that all these additional students were not being funneled out through a residential neighborhood, and that was designed as an emergency egress only. None of that is being changed at this time. The applicant has submitted the plan at this time with all the details pertaining to the proposed addition. And they have also noted that once this addition is complete, those 2 portable classrooms will be removed from the site. The one thing that I still don't have clarity on the site plan is with regard to parking calculations. Once this addition is built, peak usage of the church would require 316 parking spaces. The site currently has 261 parking spaces, and the shortage is to be accommodated with a shared parking agreement of 60 spaces with 929 West University, which is the dental office to the east of the subject site, on the other side of the Helen. The applicant referred to attached agreements. I unfortunately did not get that agreement till earlier this morning. I did take a look at the agreement, but I'm still not clear with regard to sharing. The applicant states that they are sharing 60 parking spaces with the neighboring site, but the neighboring site has only 54 spaces on it. So some amount of clarity is required. Total requirement is 316. On-site parking is 261. Where are the additional shared parking spaces going to be located? If they're going to be located on the abutting sites, is that agreement still valid because the applicant had originally abandoned their proposal to build this addition? So is that agreement going to be back in place if this addition is going to be built? The applicant needs to provide that clarity. Based on that information being provided, it is our recommendation that you place this on your next agenda for consideration of site plan and for a public hearing. I would be happy to answer any questions.
So it does require a complete new public hearing to evaluate this site plan?
Yes, it will be another special exception approval again because it is a significant addition. They received special exception approval, but the project was officially abandoned, so they have to come back for the school portion of it.
And then it will have to go to city council for final approval?
No. In the city of Rochester, the special exception is also approved only by the planning commission.
Okay,
so
good.
it will just come to you again.
Any questions for Vidya? So could we have the applicant come forward? Good evening, Reverend. Pastor.
Go ahead.
Good evening.
I just wanted to say hi.
Nice to see you.
We missed you.
We missed you too.
Yeah, it's good to be
We've been
back.
keeping
And
spots open.
It's helpful to hear a little of that history, and certainly we've been back and forth to see you a lot over the years. It's hard at times to think of COVID and that whole reality being a blessing, and yet what we have found, God is blessing our school ministry profoundly in these days, and just to be in a place where we would have moved forward with the wrong project is a gift and a blessing. We're back to you because we have the right project, because things have changed. And part of what has changed is we have so many families and kids, we don't have room for them. And it's a wonderful problem, but with it is a significant shift in our plans, and we're excited to present that, and we thank you for your time as you work with us and we work with you. We praise God for that, so thank you.
Thanks. Thank you for coming.
This is Gary Quapis.
Hi, Gary.
Gary Kloppus, architect for the project. Wanted to address the one thing that Vidya had brought up, the parking issue. We come up with a calculation of 271, and we've looked at it twice through the day once we found out. We did not get her right up till today. So we went and evaluated it. We have 271 on site. Now, there is a correction that needs to be done to the parking agreement. The 929 building only has 54 spaces. We had an agreement with them for 60. That agreement would have to be redone.
Yes.
And make it a contingent of getting approval, site plan approval and so forth, because I don't think we could do it that fast by the legal submission into the county and so forth. But that agreement would have to be redone, and we realize that. I can't speak entirely for the representatives from the church would have to take part in that.
Okay. Several of us were on the commission during the original presentations. Just give us a quick summary of what you're doing differently with this one.
Sure. I think I can do this. You may have to help me go through it. Can I maneuver this video?
Actually, I have it on the screen, but I'm happy to scroll to where you would like me to
If you
go.
want to go ahead and go to our floor plan, the architect's floor plan, please.
Okay. Sure. Give me
And
one
if you can enlarge
second.
that, so I can explain it to the commissioners.
Can you enlarge that video?
Yes, I am. It's freezing up a little bit on me, so give me just 1 second. I will scroll. Okay, this is parking. Let me go back. The file is very big, so it's scrolling too fast or too slow. Okay. Is it the sheet? Is it the sheet before this or?
It might be before it.
Okay. Please go ahead and start speaking. I will find the sheet.
Yeah, if you
Yeah,
hit that.
just hit the
it'll-
black square
it'll
video and
expand it.
enlarge it.
Yeah, give me 1 second. It's because I'm scrolling while I'm,
No, video
Have
was
it
our,
on the-
it was our screen.
oh, okay. I'll find the floor plan in just 1 second and put it up on the screen. And it's tending to freeze. Okay, I have all the letters. Oh, okay, here it is. It's the last, very last sheet. Yeah. Okay, so. Oh, thank you for your patience.
Okay, thank you. This is, there's one more backward. This is the second floor. Thank you. Here's the first floor. We're proposing to add on a new lobby area and then also 8 classrooms on the first floor, and additional possible 8 classrooms on the second floor. So basically, all these are at the south end of the current gym. That's where we're doing the expansion. It's a 2-story addition with a separation of a 1-story between for mechanical equipment and so forth. But mainly, if you want to show them to the exterior elevations, I know they have them on their file too, but if you could do that, please.
Yes, I'm sorry, which sheet would you like to see?
That one right there. Keep going down, scroll down, thank you. Currently, we're trying to match up as much as we can to the existing architecture of the current structure, for both the materials, for the brick. We are introducing another different material at the bottom to separate and so forth the existing brick, but we are trying to match as much as we can to the existing structure and building that's there.
Nothing in that third floor, it's just a.
That's all attic.
Okay.
That's strictly attic, yes.
Okay.
We're just trying to get away from having a flat roof and so forth, and dealing with a maintenance issue.
Very good. Any questions? David?
Maybe it was just a word thing. You said possibly 8 classrooms on the second floor? Does that mean?
Possibly, the space is there. to
You might
do
build
as
it out
part of
in
this.
phases.
We don't know if we're doing it all at this time or not. Hopefully, we are.
But you're doing the second floor?
We are doing the second
Okay.
floor. That's correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, we have to schedule this for a public hearing, and I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Do we fit this on November 7th, Nick?
Yes, we can.
Motion to set public hearing for November 7th by the mayor. Is there support?
Support.
Roll call, please.
I'm sorry, who was the support? Eric, thank you. Okay, Mayor Bixson,
Yes.
Commissioner Lord,
Yes.
Chairman McGee,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Hauser,
Yes.
Councilman Sage,
Yes.
Commissioner Gasson,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Kenjuk,
Yes.
and Commissioner Stone.
Abstain.
Thank you very much. We'll see you on November 7th.
All right. Thank you.
Hopefully, we'll get you all situated and ready to roar.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, number 7, miscellaneous. Does anybody have anything?
I just had a question.
Yes,
If I
sir.
could. And Vidya, this is a question for you. This conversation we had earlier about the storage units,
Yes.
what I heard was that this site was, or this use was both a permitted and a special use at the same time, with no clear
Yeah.
differential between the two? I'm a little,
Yes.
can you help me clarify that? Is there an issue with the ordinance that needs to be looked at there?
Yes. The ordinance is written so funnily. It's strange because we don't have too many I2 zone parcels within the city. And right now, the way the ordinance is written, it says principal permitted uses are the same as the I1 district, which says warehouse and storage uses. Then you go to the I2 district, and under special exception, it once again says any industrial storage or warehousing operation. While the intent might have been to classify a different category of warehousing and storage operations as special exception, the ordinance doesn't specify that. So that is something that needs to be fixed.
Okay.
How is that going to impact this project?
because the ambiguity is in our ordinance, it is my interpretation that we have to give them the benefit of the doubt, and they will be considered a principal permitted use. That still does not excuse them from meeting all the ordinance requirements.
Okay, that sounds good. That sounds good. Okay, thank you, Vidi. Nick, the floor is yours. Upcoming agenda items, or Patrick, are you going to handle it?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna have Patrick handle it.
Thank you, Nick. We've had this Blake Realty out here for a while. I've finally got in contact with him last weekend by email, and he indicates that he's ready to proceed again. There's just some deliberation on what he submitted the first time versus what he needs to submit, so he's going to send someone in so we can show him what he submitted, because he seems to be doubting that.
We had some concerns about the visual appearance of the finishes that were picked, just for your information. I don't recall exactly
Yeah,
how it was
at one
left.
time, he got approved for the second floor, or was at least in motion of getting that approval, and then he decided he only wanted one floor. And he's pretty much kept the same spirit involved in terms of the architectural treatment. So, I don't think that's necessarily a problem. I think, where he's lacking is meeting some of the ordinance submission standards. And
Okay.
he submitted a site plan that was on a
Not complete.
11 by 17 and very difficult to read, so.
Okay.
Quick question, do you know when this came in before? Was this recent?
2018,
Oh,
19,
okay.
quite a while ago.
Before.
And he had big plans for a two-story, kind of like the card shop did with the front to back, big condo up there. And he had some fairly modern-looking finishes on it, if I recall, big 3-foot square tiles, and it didn't quite fit. It was pretty modern.
He still has that same tile facade,
Yeah.
so. The next item, 1100 North Main Street, Downtown Inn, formerly known as the Spartan Inn. I met with him on Friday. He's not happy about all the changes that are necessary, but he has come around and has agreed to make some changes with his architect, so I think we're taking some steps forward to getting him in front of you.
So strictly a facade renovation. That'll be the,
That's pretty much it. He was going to do a lounge on the first floor in the hotel to provide breakfast and lunch area for the residents there. The Preserves of Rochester, they came in, they got their review, and quite frankly, we didn't realize we didn't ever send it to them. So they called saying, how come we're not on the agenda? And they now have their review, so
okay.
they're streaming forward now.
That's by the OPC?
No, is that the old cement plant and
Yes, it's,
down under the bridge?
All these names.
There's so
there.
many,
I
yeah.
know.
They all have to be pretty.
let's see here. We're also looking at a modification to the city ordinance for lighting.
What does that entail?
It's primarily dealing with shielding of open bulb type lighting.
We just dealt with this last year, so why is it coming up again?
I can help Patrick on that one.
Is this the residential to residential?
Yes.
Yeah.
We only
So,
addressed the
I think
commercial.
city council heard the plea, and it seemed to be backed down significantly. And hey, if we're doing residential, commercial to residential, why can't we, on a complaint basis, draft an ordinance that says we'll deal if it's a nuisance or not? So a little more clear. So Jeff and I were drafting up something that we'll give it a shot with you guys. And if you don't like it, you don't like it. But we'll, one last try.
Thank you.
And Nick, how many complaints do we have on record?
One.
One?
Yeah.
One.
Yes.
Thanks.
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you, Patrick. Any other business before the commission?
Yeah, I just have a question. So the 7th is the Solaronics is coming in?
Well, we don't have a review back for the Solaronics. We sent that out, so as soon as Vidya gets her review back, we'll see if it's ready to put on the agenda or not.
Right now, it's not.
Not that we're aware of.
Okay.
Because I think.
Yeah, you guys gotta be careful. They've been in for months. we need to get that on the agenda and deal with it. If you wanna have- Yeah, we can't delay them any longer. They've done a lot of work and it's in.
We are ready.
We have a whole month.
No, that wasn't my question, though. Yeah, the question was, is it coming?
We're ready. If it's prepared for us, we're ready.
So if we have that, and we have
Roxy.
and we have St. John Lutheran, I mean, that's gonna be.
It's a busy docket on the 7th, and, because I think it was supposed to be on the 20th, but
Right.
I'm not gonna be, I think
Yeah, we're not gonna do it.
Ms. King isn't either, so that's fine. And then the gentleman recording handed me a note saying that November 7th is the night before the election, which I understand. I didn't know if that had some bearing as to agenda items. It didn't to me, but I'm just forwarding information.
I don't see Roxy taking hours. I don't see St. John's taking hours. I think
Maybe have them go first.
maybe.
You got
Yeah, I agree.
And save the Solaronics for last.
Solaronics for last.
Yeah.
And again, that's not a public hearing. That's
Right.
them making a
Strictly
presentation.
consideration.
And then you're gonna digest it, and we'll tell everybody, we don't need to hear what, it's not a public hearing. So we're letting them present, just like we did these others tonight. And then we will, at the public hearing, they can do their petitions and everything, but it's not fair to get ahead and listen to this twice, right?
We're ready.
So it's just for discussion.
So some of that, there's gonna be no public comment on that night?
Oh, there has to be.
Yeah, okay.
I mean,
that's.
there are a lot of people out there.
Well, right, that's, Nick was saying that there wasn't gonna be. I wasn't sure what.
Well, I mean, if you guys wanted to
Well, I'll
have
try
that,
to
but
steer the first public comment. If it's about Solaronics, to please wait till we've called the item, and then there'll be plenty of time.
But I'm
And
just
then we
saying,
can sort of let the others get in here and get out if we can.
and if 500 people show up, I would think, Mr. Chairman, we would let them make their statement, but we can't have 500 people say the same thing.
No.
You're really good at, doing a meeting. The mayor does the same thing at council. If you have new information after the baseline is set, we want them, we're going to get this out to everybody, but we are not notifying them about that meeting because it's not a public hearing. So I'm sure they'll know, and we want them to. But I just don't want you guys to get
they know.
sidetracked.
We'll handle it. We'll handle it.
Go to next door.
Okay, any
Chairman
other
McGee,
business? What is that?
Yes, you had also mentioned Crook cards might also come back to you on November 7th. Just a reminder.
Well,
Right.
that'll
In theory.
possibly be also very quick, so.
Yeah, they'll be back too. Maybe.
I rely on you guys. If they're not prepared, don't put them on. So. Okay, thank you, everyone, for your attention, and this meeting is adjourned.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.